You see the double standards in nifaq in this issue. You see those who are pro-Turkey, pro-Qatar, attacking what's referred to as UAE for a Hindu temple. When Qatar and Turkey themselves have churches, to us, they're all the same in this matter. Because we speak from the pure foundation of the Quran and Sunnah and the true manhaj of the Salaf. The pure Tawheed, the Hindu temples and places of shirk and what's referred to as UAE or what's referred to as Qatar or the cathedrals in Kuwait. And no different than that. And worse than that is the Husayniyat that they have in Bilad al-Haramain. And like that is the Husayniyat that are allowed in Afghanistan or even in Iraq, in Egypt, and elsewhere throughout the Muslim territories. They're all the same in this matter. Worse than that is when kufr and shirk is allowed to be practiced openly and publicly while being protected and defended. Or when the construction of their doomed establishments are completed, they're celebrated and attended. This issue is an example of the many contemporary matters that will tell you who are the pirates of the da'wah of Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and who are the genuine pure guardians of the manhaj of the Salaf, the followers of the pure Tawheed and the followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. To those extremists in obedience to their rulers who give precedence to what they do and say over the Quran and Sunnah, building places of shirk is haram. But if their rulers do it, they'll find a justification. Just like interfaith. It's kufr to them. But if the rulers do it, it's exempted and the list goes on. They'll rightfully tear into a modernist or some figure or head who attends and promotes interfaith. But when their rulers do it or promote it from Mecca, they'll find a way out for them. Counterfeit mark Salafis. They're the sham, bogus followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. Explain to me what type of Salafism they're on, and how do they even have the audacity to even mention or touch the books of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, let alone teach them, when the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala was centered on establishing pure Tawheed, and more precisely, it's the ijma' of the globe, the universal globe, enemies and followers of the da'wah, that the da'wah of Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab was notorious and blatant for demolishing symbols of shirk throughout the lands that they controlled and ruled. Their tawaghit establish and construct temples of shirk and protect it and guard it and participate and celebrate and rejoice in its opening. Some boldly justify it while others are silent. Others pretend to be overly occupied in talking about the bid'ah of the Mawlid. Because of course the Tawaghit don't care about that issue. They can quarrel about that as long as they want. At the same time that temples of shirk are being constructed and celebrated in the lands that your Messenger ﷺ died, deterring from that. Yes, no doubt the Mawlid is a bid'ah. But it doesn't compare in severity to the horrendous act of opening a shirk temple on Al-Jazira Al-Arabiya. Some in the past gave fatwas against building shirk establishments in Muslim lands, but now turn a blind eye and are even part of the inner circle of the Tawaghit to violate that. And they have the audacity to accuse others of changing. The ulama were discussing the issue of allowing kuffar themselves to open places of worship for themselves in Muslim lands. Now it's Tawaghit opening places of shirk in Muslim lands. The Murji'a rejects and their Tawaghit are not followers of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah. They're followers of Amr ibn Amir ibn Luhay, the man who revived shirk in the Arabian Peninsula and changed the deen in Millah of Ibrahim in the Arabian Peninsula. In Bukhari and Muslim, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I saw Amr dragging his intestines in Jahannam because he was the first who devoted animals to shirk. They're reviving the da'wah of Amr ibn Luhay, who brought shirk from Asham to the Arabian Peninsula and altered the pure tawheed of Millat Ibrahim. They should be ashamed to utter the word they like to mention, that they're Salafis. Unless when they say they're Salafi, that their Salaf is Amr ibn Luhay, then we can accept that. Day after day, they're unmasked and their reality appears clear and clear for the slow ones. They falsely cling onto the da'wah of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab to gain legitimacy when he's free from them. And if he was alive from what we know of his manhaj and what we learned and what we taught of his books and what we know of his history, he would be cleansed in Al-Jazira Al-Arabiya from some of his own blood and flesh offspring there today. That's not even getting into the issue of the betrayal of the Muslims in this matter. 16 million to build a shirk temple so they can worship peacefully, while at the same time they're demolishing masajid and killing our brothers and sisters.